there is this concept of golden circle, and that's done by Simon Sinek, and this has been adopted by Apple also in multiple of its deliveries. And it's just asking 3 simple questions when you start a task. It's starting with the inner circle of why, and then it goes on to how, and then what. When you ask these 3 questions to any task, even if it's a one-day task to a project, it's definitely going to give you more meaningful results, and the way you operate is going to change completely. So I always push my teams to start with why. So why are we doing this? What is the outcome that you're trying to achieve? And then that helps you to align on priorities. And then you go to the how, where you're trying to see how you can get this done. So what are the solutions? So what are the multiple ways that you can achieve this? And then when you say that, or you're stuck at a point where you have multiple options, you always go back to the why, and then that helps you choose between the how. And then the final question is what. So the final thing is, what are you trying to build? Is it a dashboard really, or maybe it's a small change in the stored procedure, or it's just building a semantic layer, or it's just giving a report out as an Excel format also. It doesn't matter. But then what's the best possible solution that you can give to this problem? So when you start addressing these questions, I think you can solve a lot of issues.
Hello everybody, welcome to this episode of Dexian Talks, an initiative by Dexian India, where we bring inspiring conversation from people who shape the organization with their leadership, impact and expertise. I am Aarti Manosekar, your host for this episode. Today we are delighted to have Ms. Suchitra, Associate Director, Data and Analytics Team at Dexian India. With over 13 years of experience in retail, healthcare and media domains, Suchitra has built a strong foundation for business intelligence strategy, scalable reporting and data-driven decision making. What makes her journey really exciting is the transformation that she is driving today, from a traditional reporting setup to a modern cloud-based analytics ecosystem. I'm personally looking forward to have this conversation with her. Suchitra, it's a pleasure to have you with us on this episode.
Hi Aarti. Thank you for having me here today. I've seen Dexian Talk podcast with multiple of my peers attending it, and I'm really honored to be part of the show today. And I would also like to sincerely extend my heartfelt thanks to Venkatesh, my director, for giving me this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you, Suchitra. Suchitra, to begin with, can you tell us a little about your journey into data and analytics?
For sure. I stepped into data analytics at the very beginning of my career. So it has been definitely organic and definitely more intentional over a period of time. So I started as a very basic developer, like most of you, working in TCS as a Java developer. And at that time, my world was completely filled with code. And I just used to focus on my task, day-to-day task, and then delivering it on time. And that was really the focus. And I really did not understand what type of data I was dealing with. And then as days progressed by, I realized that data is something that's more powerful, especially when I was dealing with audience measurement and media and market research. And then therein came MicroStrategy, a reporting tool, which was introduced at that point of time. And then there was a structured training program that was introduced, for which I was onboarded. And I was one of the few people who was onboarded early on to those programs. And I remember those days, it was completely very intense. We used to have day-long training sessions, and then we used to go back to our projects to fulfill our commitments. And then I had to again prepare rigorously in the night to ensure that I passed in the examinations. So those were like demanding days, but I also remember those were exciting days. And that was the first step into data and analytics. And then as days evolved by, I've moved on to more specialized roles, and I've met with multiple client partners and multiple areas of research. And one such example would be healthcare, where I realized that data is a powerful medium because it directly influenced people's policies, decisions, and the US government and regulations. And a lot of it was interconnected. And then I realized that it's a lens, a powerful lens, I would say, into human behavior. And then I spent most of my time at Gap, a retail and a research company. And I've spent a lot of my time working to build and scale enterprise reporting. And there I noticed that, I was able to influence real-time strategies and then drive real-time insights, where I've worked with multiple store district owners and store owners, and then influenced their discount strategies, evaluated the pricing on the fly. And I remember one such example is during the Corona time, So where we had a lot of retail shops shut down. and I had to interact directly with store owners, and then understand how we can better improve the process and how we can contribute to revenue. And even here at Dexian, we're working towards moving towards a more data cultured approach,
Right.
and also ensuring that we give more faster and meaningful insights. And that's definitely the focus. And if I look back at my journey now, I think that data has been the core of its entire journey, and the focus is definitely to make sure that the data acts as a bridge between the insights as well as also on the business actions.
Right. Very interesting, Suchitra, and it's always great to learn how people find their way into data and analytics.
Yes.
Yeah. So you have clearly seen the space up close. So over the years, how has your perspective on analytics evolved from reporting numbers to driving data-driven decisions?
Yes, truly. So as I said, I started at the grassroots level, being just a developer, and then when a person comes up to me, asks me for something, and then my focus used to be just only on how to deliver the results.
Right.
Right. So if, for example, sales tipped, and then I just used to go and debug the code and then find the variance, draw up a report, and then I just used to publish the report. But I never used to understand what that report truly meant.
Okay.
And my perspective started to change when I started to understand that stakeholders did not need physical or software reports.
Yeah.
What they really need is a decision, and what they need is a guide to help them make that decision.
Yeah.
Whether it's a recommendation or whether it's a strategy. So they need our help in helping their business become better. So when you start looking into that perspective, you're automatically, you start moving away from reporting what has happened to what needs to happen and what is the action that needs to be implemented. And so that, I think, has also evolved over time, where I've moved into leadership roles, and that's really helped me, influence decisions and drive strategies. And those have been really helpful in changing my perspective over time. And I also encourage that to a lot of my teammates right now.
Right. And it shows how the field has matured over
Yes,
the time, right?
definitely.
And now coming back to your role at Dexian, so you manage the full analytics life cycle from data to ETL and to event reporting, right?
Correct.
So how important it is to look at analytics as an end-to-end function rather than isolated task?
That's absolutely a great question, because that's, I think, one of the greatest mindset that teams these days need to have in order to mature into analytics.
Yeah.
Because when you I've seen in my experience, most organizations have separate teams for ingestion, separate teams for pipelining, and separate teams for curation of data, and separate teams to build reports. So when you isolate these tasks, what happens is, on paper it's absolutely rosy.
Yeah.
Your rack status is green always,
Yes.
right? But on the reality, I've seen a lot of gaps, and there's a lot of assumptions being made, and a lot of ownership issues, and a blame game that happens.
Yeah.
Right? So which truly, where somewhere along the route, your original intention of building that report gets lost.
Yeah.
So when a team truly takes up the responsibility, and I think at Dexian, that's one of the greatest advantages that we have. The current team does a centralized reporting, where we do ingestion, we do ETL transformations,
Right.
and then we also do reporting, and we engage with the business, and we engage with the field ops, and we engage with HR people, and then it's completely holistic. And the greatest advantages of this model, I feel, is consistency. Right? So you know that your data has to be correct, and it should not be distorted. From source to destination, you know what your data has to be.
Right.
And then definitely it also helps you in building more accountable data models. Because when you own responsibilities, you don't have to wait for other teams. Right? And I don't have to wait 2 weeks. I don't have to say that I'm still waiting for this input to come my way. And that's really what helps you look at the bigger picture, and not just like, I'm only responsible for this small piece of puzzle. I want to solve this entire crossword because I need to get the final outcome. And that should be the mindset.
Yeah.
And also, and as I was saying, so the speed is also very important, because if you start depending on multiple teams, what happens is they will have a minimum timeline of 1 week or 2 weeks or a sprints, and then that delay kind of irritates the business or stakeholders. Why am I not getting my insights faster?
Yeah.
So I think that's why you should always have a holistic approach, and look at the cycle end to end, and not just in tasks.
Very well said. And I completely agree with what you just said. But things don't always go as per plan, right? So in your experience, what are the most common gaps between what the business asks for and what the data team builds?
Yes, absolutely. I think gaps are the real challenges that analytics team have, and we still face today.
Okay.
In my experience, one of the biggest gaps is how the problem statement is, kind of structured.
Okay.
So as a technical team, when a business comes to me and says, I need a report, I need a dashboard, what do we as technical teams do? We directly jump onto the issue. And then we're like, okay, do we have this column? Do I have this code? And what do I need to fix? Should I apply a band-aid? And that's what we try to see.
Okay.
We don't go to the root of the issue. Why are they asking this?
Yeah.
So when we understand that, our whole perspective changes. So I think that's one of the biggest gaps. If we try to resolve that, that would kind of resolve majority of the issues.
Yeah.
And then another gap which I have seen is on the level of abstraction. As technical teams, we want to do fancy dashboards.
Okay.
And then because we know a lot of cool features, I know I can get in Python, I can get in this JavaScript, I can do this, I can do that. And I want to put everything into a single, visual. But business really does not want that.
Okay.
All they need is probably a simple KPI card,
Okay.
a simple trend line, and then a simple recommendation.
Right.
So most of the teams don't, they fail to understand this. And I think that's another huge gap. And then again, I said it's on the timing as well.
Yeah.
So you should not spend a lot of time delivering, the results,
Right.
and then your business kind of gets agitated because speed to insight is equally important. And I think the last gap would be on clear definitions. So I strongly believe that you need to have a core, well-defined schema and a data model. Otherwise, your entire data is going to be mistrusted.
Yeah. So that brings me to the next question. So once you're dealing with those gaps, right, Suchitra, so it really impacts how the reporting ecosystem performs, which involves, as you said, SQL Server, ETL pipelines, and Power BI. So I want to know, how do you ensure quality and consistency across these chains?
That's a very important question. I think it's very relevant for data teams.
Okay.
Because quality is not something that you kind of measure at the end output. So once you see the report, you cannot say whether the quality is good or bad.
Right.
It's something that should be engineered throughout the entire life cycle. And as you said, so it starts with a SQL Server, right? A strong, solid data model should be built. And then it goes on to a robust ETL pipeline where, you need to have your data checks, whether it's a null check or a volume check,
Right.
and what are the errors that you can catch early.
Okay.
And then you also tend to, kind of build this perfectly certifiable data semantic layer in the Power BI, which the users have to trust. Okay, for all of this, data quality is an absolute importance.
Yeah.
And then today in Dexian, what we do is we also have something called as, JIT has been introduced as one of the version control tools.
Okay.
And that's really useful for traceability and also release deployments. And we're leveraging that. And also, we also do our internal quality checks by using the unit testing, and also the team ensures that they follow the best practices, standards, and everything.
Right.
And additionally, now we've started to involve the QA team for a more structured testing approach.
Okay.
And the final step, of course, is the UAT, which is the user acceptance testing,
Okay.
for which we interact with the stakeholders to ensure that they're actually seeing what they want to see.
Okay.
You've heard of this meme where we want to build an elephant, but then we actually end up building something like a weird animal.
Yeah.
So we want to avoid all those, kind of an issue, and that's why quality is very important.
Okay.
And I think quality also builds trust over a period of time. So data integrity is absolutely critical for data teams, because once you lose the trust, we are only as good as the data that we develop,
Yeah.
right? And apart from this, in the future, we're also looking to leverage CI/CD pipelines as part of
Okay.
the new ecosystem,
Okay.
and hopefully we build more reliable data models.
Okay. So as I understand that, many stakeholders come into play, right? So when multiple priorities come in, Suchitra, so especially in an agile setup, how do you balance speed with accuracy?
Yes, so speed with accuracy is definitely not by chance. We have to consciously build it into our system, and it has to be by intention, right? So one without the other is truly meaningless.
True.
So you can have reports that are being built at a fast rate, but whether they're really accurate matters a lot. And the same goes vice versa. So you can build and spend a lot of time into data quality testing and building more accurate reports, but if the speed to insight is not available, it's equally meaningless.
Yeah.
So that's why I believe that, in an agile setup, we need to do a lot of prioritization. Where today in Dexian, what we do is we prioritize all the tasks for a particular quarter.
Okay.
And then we take into account the team's bandwidth, and then we charter a proper Gantt chart, and along with timelines on what would be the due dates for each of the activities.
Right.
And then we also plan the sprint with around 30 to 20% contingency effort, so as to accommodate any urgent asks or ad hoc requests that may come in from the leadership,
Right.
so that we can deliver that as well without compromising on the committed deliveries.
Okay.
And in accordance with this, we also plan to split the major tasks into smaller, well-defined tasks that helps for accuracy. And your definition of done and your acceptance criteria are completely non-negotiable. So we make that a practice. We convene once a sprint to ensure that the right acceptance criteria are written. We have a scrum master who works round the clock ensuring the team does a great job at it. And all these kind of might look like a small process improvements, but they contribute a lot in how the outcome is being delivered. And I think that's how speed and accuracy have to be reinforced with each other.
And that's a very tricky balance, right? To move fast without compromising on accuracy.
Perfectly.
And that ties into something bigger now, the overall transformation journey happening right now at Dexian. So Dexian is moving toward a modern cloud-based ecosystem. What is the vision behind this transformation?
Absolutely. I think we are right now in a very exciting space, and it's absolutely the right time to be at Dexian, especially in the analytics space. Because we are now moving away from static and fragmented batch-based reporting and the traditional kind of reporting to a more niche cloud-based ecosystem. And that's going to help us deliver faster insights and more real-time insights. And I think that's why I said it's the right place to be right now. Dexian is the right place to be, where we're moving towards Microsoft Fabric. And the data is going to be built in such a manner where it's going to be split into 3 layers. That starts with bronze, which is the raw layer, and then your silver is a more curated layer, and your gold being the certified data set for business to use. And it's absolutely exciting because we also have the systems be AI ready and also build more advanced analytics onto the existing systems and build agents where non-technical folk like the business can start looking at answering their questions without having to rely on the technical teams. So the vision is to ensure that the data is perfectly accurate and also reliable and also faster, and also make sure that it's perfectly trusted, right? So the transformation is also enabling data to become more scalable and also flexible. Because with cloud, what happens is you have systems that can scale on the fly. Unlike the legacy systems, which is like you have to add a storage box to it, whereas on cloud it can easily scale. And also it brings about the flexibility where you can merge or integrate sources from different data sources and also different data types into one single lakehouse warehouse architecture. And so that's, I think, the good part is we do not have to worry about redoing the definitions for each and every source system. So everything will exist in a single source of truth, and that can be easily pulled on the semantic layer for a gold layer certified data.
Very well said, Suchitra. And within that setup, how important are standardization and strong data models in minimizing redundancy and improving reporting efficiency?
Yes. So you called it out. So any data system needs strong foundations. Very well-defined schemas, and then reusable components. Why do we need reusable components? Because in the current Dexian architecture, we're seeing a consistent issue where we have around 70-80 plus reports, but then the business is saying that we need only like 5 to 10 reports. So why do we have 80 reports in the first place? It was given to us by them. The request was given to us. But then that's the issue that we're trying to address right now. Reducing the redundancy is a core component of data and analytics team. Because, for example, take a simple example of a metric, a gross profit or a margin. It can mean different definitions to different teams. But when you build a consistent definition and a consistent model, you're reducing the number of data models that you're building. We need to build strong data models, and then the fewer they are, the more reports that we can build that's more reliable and trustworthy. And when I say reducing redundancy, so is it like when a business comes to us and asks for a report, and then they want another report with a slight variation on the requirements. So when we're adding to the volume, is it really adding to the volume or the value? That's the question we need to ask. So if there is a report that can help solve 2 business decisions, we should start moving in that direction. And that's what we're trying to do right now, where we're trying to pull in a lot of data and then forming a data glossary and a dictionary, and then trying to see what really is needed and how do we condense those 80 reports into standard 10 or 11 reports.
I really liked what you said, whether it's adding to the volume or adding value. So that defines we value quality over quantity.
Definitely.
And we would like to know, as AI and ML begin to play a bigger role in analytics, where do you see the biggest opportunities for automation and predictive insights?
Yes, so reporting, I think, is just the starting point of this AI revolution, right? So AI is now literally into everything that we see
Yeah.
around. But for the reporting team, I think the biggest opportunities would be, automating repetitive tasks, I would say.
Right.
Because the technical teams spend a lot of time doing the mundane, rigorous tasks, 9 to 5 kind of a job.
Yeah.
And then those are things which can be automated by AI. And I think we need to kind of look into how we can tap into that potential.
Right.
And another opportunity I would say is moving from, a more, as you mentioned, prescriptive analytics. So moving from descriptive to prescriptive.
Right.
So the business these days, especially at Dexian, so we have really good customers who understand the data a lot.
Right.
And people are no longer interested in seeing what has happened. So why did this drop? What happened in the past? So they're looking towards the future. They want to know, what is my data going to be like in the next 12 months or the next 6 months. I want to see the data at a quarterly level, a biannual, a bi-monthly kind of a thing. And they want the data to be predicted. And in addition to that, they also want to say, if I make this X decision, how would my data look like?
Right.
If I make a Y decision, how would my data look like?
Right.
And so that kind of prescriptive analytics is, I think, a great opportunity right now that we're trying to explore. And also another opportunity with AI, I would say, is the augmented analytics, where you use a natural language query processing tools and insights driven by AI to kind of ensure that the non-technical folks like business get their answers without even having to use the technical tools. So like an AI chatbot or an AI agent is going to help a business answer their questions more easily. And I think that's a great opportunity. And as I was saying, so we're now looking to build more certified data set, gold certified data set, and layering AI on top of that is going to bring a whole new dimension, which we're really excited looking forward to.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and especially how AI helps in generating different insights, right?
Yes.
And all of this comes down to people and the team. So you have built and led analytics team. So what do you think makes a high performing analytics team?
Now that's, I think, a very easy question.
Okay.
And I think I would want to resonate this with the Dexian core values that we have.
Right.
At the core of it all is the customer.
Right.
So customer focus is, of course, the top priority.
Right.
So you need to build what the customer is asking for. So when you understand that, when teams understand that, they start building more, meaningful data sets.
Right.
And then obviously comes your accountability and responsibility, as we spoke about. So when you start owning the life cycle end to end, so you're obviously solving the bigger picture at hand, and you're not just focusing on just one piece of the puzzle, right? In addition, we also have, like, reporting right now is at the intersection of multiple teams. We interact with business, we interact with leadership, we interact with HR teams, we interact with the field operations team, sales, recruiters, and whatnot. So I think it's a great place to be, where you can learn about each other's culture, interact positively, and also kind of challenge more proactively, I think, and then learn from each other, so that everybody develops as a whole.
Yeah.
And I think we also need to have continuous improvement and learning. Whether it's AI or whether it's adopting to a newer technology or a niche technology, challenging the status quo should always be there.
Yeah.
You should not be comfortable in your shoes, and then you should be in a situation where I want to learn this today. I want to start doing this.
Right.
I want to see how much of tech debt do I have. Can I process, automate it? And that should be the intention. So once people start, teams as such start thinking towards these core values, you are definitely going to have a high performing team.
Yeah, and you have beautifully tied that into Dexian core values, Suchitra.
Yes.
So before I let you go, Suchitra, one last question from my end. So building on that, how do you encourage your team to think beyond dashboards and focus on real business impact?
So that's actually a very simple question, because I've just followed one formula from my very early coding days.
Okay.
So there is this concept of golden circle, and that's done by Simon Sinek, and this has been adopted by Apple also in multiple of its deliveries.
Okay.
And it's just asking 3 simple questions when you start a task. It's starting with the inner circle of why, and then it goes on to how, and then what. When you ask these 3 questions to any task, even if it's a one-day task to a project, it's definitely going to give you more meaningful results, and the way you operate is going to change completely. So I always push my teams to start with why. So why are we doing this? What is the outcome that you're trying to achieve? And then that helps you to align on priorities. And then you go to the how, where you're trying to see how you can get this done. So what are the solutions? So what are the multiple ways that you can achieve this? And then when you say that, or you're stuck at a point where you have multiple options, you always go back to the why, and then that helps you choose between the how. And then the final question is what. So the final thing is, what are you trying to build Is it a dashboard really? Or maybe it's a small change in the stored procedure, or it's just building a semantic layer, or it's just giving a report out as an Excel format also. It doesn't matter. But then what's the best possible solution that you can give to this problem? So when you start addressing these questions, I think you can solve a lot of issues. And in Dexian, I'm very thankful to have a great mentor as Venkatesh, as my director, and he has guided me very well on addressing similar issues and also making some key strategic decisions on similar lines. And I think that's how I also mentor my teams.
So I could completely relate to what you just said, Suchitra. Even I had a chance to host Mr. Venkatesh on Dexian Talks, and he came across as a very people-centric person. So with that note, we received a small surprise message from Venkatesh. So can we hear it?
Hello Suchitra, it's a pleasure to speak about you. Suchitra leads a reporting and data analytics team with a thoughtful balance of people, process, and delivery. Her interpersonal skills, commitment to work, and ability to stay on top of priorities represents a kind of leadership that quietly creates an impact. Beyond execution, she is always focused on creating positive change within the team and through strong collaboration with our global stakeholders, adding meaningful value to Dexian reporting and analytics space. Suchitra, it's really great to have you as part of the team as we move forward with the next phase of technology and operational transformation. Truly appreciate and thankful for all your support. Thank you. Have a great day.
Now, that's a huge surprise, and I'm truly overwhelmed. And I'm really grateful to Venkatesh for giving me this opportunity, and also to you, Aarti, for this wonderful chat show and for being patient with me to give me my perspectives on my journey so far. So I truly appreciate it, and thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Suchitra, for joining us on Dexian Talks and for sharing your journey, insights, and leadership perspective with us.
The pleasure is absolutely mine, and I thank you once again, Aarti, for letting me share my insights.
Thank you very much, Suchitra. That was an interesting conversation with Suchitra, and I must say I really enjoyed this conversation with her. So with that note, we are wrapping up this episode. I'll see you all in the next episode with another interesting guest on Dexian Talks. Stay tuned.
We are Dexian, in the business for good.